CBSE Board, Class 11, History, Chapter 4, Part 27, Audio by Renee Matthew. Mao Zedong has brought about a lot of changes in China, unlike the other rulers, where he gave a lot of importance to the statistics of the number of peasants, and he also found out what each district or street was undergoing during the previous years of rule of other rulers. And that is how he wanted to solve the social, economic, religious and educational problems which the country faced. Of course, this particular communist party under the leadership of Mao Zedong was continuously facing a lot of threat from Kuomintang. They did not just go away like that saying it's fine, you can rule the country. Of course, there were a lot of repeated threats from the Kuomintang blockade. They were blocking the rule of this particular party also because they were the prevailing rulers, right? Do you remember this group? Kuomintang. So they were blocking the path of the Communist Party, and because of that this party decided to seek another base. They wanted to take another route to their progress, which led them to go on what came to be called the Long March. They went for a long march, 6,000 grueling and difficult miles to Shanxi. They walked, grueling and very tiresome walk to a place called Shanxi. This was a new base in Yan'an, and they further developed their program to end war lordism. They did not want to encourage any sort of war lordism, and they wanted to carry out these land reforms and fight foreign imperialism, because only when you bring about equality in the society, a great impact will be felt over the nation. They wanted to eradicate the unequal status that the society was facing, or the problems that they faced because of inequality in the society. So they wanted to put an end to war lordism and also to carry out land reforms, and as a result of that they could fight foreign imperialism also. This won them a very strong social base. Because of this they got a very strong social base, and during the difficult years of the war, the communists and the Kuomintang, what they did is they both joined together. Okay, now Kuomintang understood that there is no point in fighting against this particular group, so they joined together, they worked together. But after the end of the war, the communists established themselves in power. So it was only for the war that they worked together, they joined together. But after the war, communists dominated and they ruled the country alone in power. And the Kuomintang was defeated because they knew that they had the basis of warlordism, and they did not want to encourage that, and they want sole power, the nation to be completely under them. Who? The Communist Party. Now I have put up the photographs of soldiers on the Long March, reclaiming the wasteland, 1941. They wanted this Shanxi, the place called Shanxi, and this is how they went for the walk. It was really grueling. 6,000 people joined the Long March, and these are some of the file photos from it. One photo is given in your textbook also. Establishing the new democracy, 1949 to 65. Very important point. The People's Republic of China government finally was established in 1949, and this had the basis, or it established the basis on principles of the new democracy, which was an alliance of all social classes. They wanted all the social classes prevalent in the society to be a part of it, directly or indirectly a part of the government's functions. Did you understand? So it was not at all like the dictatorship of the proletariat, that is the towns and all that. They did not want to come under the dictatorship of these town warlords and all that. No more dictatorship was prevalent in the nation. It was completely democratic, that the Soviet Union said it had established. So they did not even conform to the rules of the Soviet Union. Do you remember that a new form of communist party was emerging in Soviet Union, which had all its dictatorship in its hands? But the People's Republic of China did not promote all that. They did not want dictatorship, but they just wanted new democratic principles to be established in their own nation. Of course, critical areas of the economy were put under the government control. Lot of critical areas were there where people started criticizing the new government and economy, and private enterprise and private ownership was to be gradually ended. That is when all these ruling small families, we saw the name of one particular family, the ruling families in Japan, they were more concerned in having the land in their own hands. So private enterprise, any form of private ownership, everything came to an end. Everything came directly under the control of the government. This program lasted till 1953. That is this particular program of ending up all these private ownership and new democracy, when the government declared that it would soon launch a program of socialist transformation. Of course, you have to have some social transformation for the progress of the country and the nation. So that led to the Great Leap Forward movement, and this was launched in 1958. It was a policy to galvanize the country, that is, to create an outer covering for the country, to industrialize rapidly, to transform it completely to another form, that is galvanization, so that there will be industrialization. We saw that industrialization was declining in China because of various reasons. 2 slides completely covered all those points. So now they wanted to promote industrialization, and people were therefore encouraged to set up steel furnaces in their backyards. Instead of setting up in factories and creating more pollution, first they started setting up steel furnaces in their backyards of the home, and that was of course supported by the government also. So what the rural area people did, people's communes, that is where land would be collectively owned and cultivated, because people in the rural areas did not have much land. They had very limited place to set up these steel furnaces. So they had people's commune system where land was collectively owned by a group of people, and they cultivated that land also. So that was actually started. This particular system was actually started. Okay. Now in 1958, there were 26,000 communes which covered 98% of the farm population. So how they started? They started as a very small group. Okay, they started by asking the people from the rural areas to set up these individual communes, but now 26,000 communes covered 98% of the farm population. See how many, the number, just look at the number. And Mao Zedong was able to mobilize the masses. He actually set the mass on spark. He triggered the masses to attain the goals set by the party, because this particular party, Communist Party, had a few goals, and the people also saw that they were progressing by their ideals and principles. So he was a person who could set the mass to spark to attain the goals set by the party. So his main concern was to create a socialist man. Socialist man means what? Just now we saw that they were going to bring about some kind of socialist transformation, who will have the 5 loves. That is, the socialist man will always be concerned for 5 things. That is fatherland, people, labor, science and public property. They should give importance to all these things. So as a result of that, mass organizations were created for farmers, women, students and other groups. They started coming collectively together so that they could share ideas and set a spark to bring about changes in all these 5 loves, which was essential to be a socialist man. Now 2 people are coming up on the screen. For example, the All China Democratic Women's Federation. This particular body had 76 million members. And there was another body known as All China Students Federation. One was for women, the other one was for students, because they encouraged farmers, women, students and all the groups to come together. Now this particular group had 3.29 million members, and their objectives and methods did not appeal to everyone in the party. But still it's okay. Some people will say no, but everything was for the progress of the nation or for the country. In 1953 to 1954, some were urging for more attention. They wanted more attention to bring about industrial organization and economic growth. They wanted to span this growth in industry and also economy. Liu Shaoqi and Deng Xiaoping. These two people are there. The photographs of both the people, both the leaders are given here. They tried to modify the commune system, that is the existing commune system where people collectively owned the land, because it was not working efficiently. Of course, they had the output for all that they did, like setting up 26,000 communes means of course output will be there, but it was not working efficiently. Efficiency is very important as the world progresses. The steel produced in the backyard furnaces was unusably industrially. It was unused. It couldn't be used after the steel was produced. Of course, it was creating a lot of pollution also for individual families. Conflicting visions 1965 to 78, where there was a kind of conflict. There was a conflict between the Maoists, because they wanted to create a socialist man with 5 loves, and those who objected to his emphasis on ideology rather than expertise. So Maoists were people who concentrated on ideology. They did not give much importance to expertise. So that's why there were two groups who came up in the society. And that led or culminated in Mao launching the great proletarian cultural revolution. So Mao launched great proletarian cultural revolution in 1965 to counter his critics, because so many people were criticizing the new launch of Mao, that is to create the social man, and many people were against it. They said, come on, we will have to concentrate on the expertise. So that is why he launched this cultural revolution. The first point under that, the Red Guards, mainly students. This particular group comprised of students and army. They were used for a campaign against the traditional old culture. It is very easy to set the students and young people on spark, to say a no to old customs and old habits. So that is what Mao did, the first point, the Red Guards. Second, students and professionals were sent to the countryside. They asked all the students and professional people to go to the countryside to learn from the masses, to understand their color, to understand their pace, to understand what they really wanted, so that they can work according to it. Ideology, being communist, was more important than having professional knowledge. They gave more importance to ideology. That particular point is given here. More than expertise or skill or professional knowledge, they gave importance to ideology. Denunciations and slogans replaced rational debate. They did not want to go for any rational thinking. It was always slogans, denunciations, strikes, and it was very aggressive in those days. The Cultural Revolution began a period of turmoil. See, everything was launched for the good of the society. They wanted to bring about some change. So this Cultural Revolution was a great period of turmoil. It created a lot of internal unrest. It started weakening the party and severely disrupted the economy and educational system. So because of this internal problem, see why Maoists started this particular cultural revolution, it was only to bring about the progress of the society. But because of the internal problems, internal turmoil, it started weakening the party and it disrupted the economy. This could have happened anywhere in any country in the world because of the internal problems. So from the late 1960s, the tide began to turn. Everything saw a turning point in 1960s. In 1975, the party once again laid stress on greater social discipline. They said we need to have more social discipline. When we try to promote the societal behavior of a man, we need to show them how to discipline ourselves as a society. That was the more focal point of these groups, that is to set up social discipline. And also one more point, the need to build an industrial economy. So this is one point which is stressed from the beginning of the conflicting tensions and by many thinkers, philosophers and leaders. So more than social discipline, it had to be to build an industrial economy so that China could become a power before the end of the century. So that they just wanted to bring up China, which was really distracted and disrupted once again as a major power. So that is how we got these reforms from 1978. Very important section of the text. The Cultural Revolution by Maoists was followed by a process of political manuring, political reformation, political kind of molding was happening immediately after the Cultural Revolution. This political manuring is a very important part in the text, and it was put up by Deng Xiaoping. This will be discussed about in the upcoming audios, in the videos, okay? So stay tuned.